Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease. Available on the App Store and Google Play. You can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps on your phone. Using the My Hingham app puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, and info about our boards, committees, departments, and services. For more information, please scan the QR code on your screen.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, actually. A couple different times here. It is 6 o'clock on February 17, 2026. This meeting of the Hingham Select Board is called to order. I'm going to note for the record that this meeting is being held in person and/or remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other
Recording in
participants
progress.
of said recording. Is anyone recording tonight's meeting? Seeing none, I know for the record that participating in tonight's meeting are board members Liz Klein, Julie Straley, and myself, William Ramsey, Chair. For those who are willing and able, please stand and face the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I believe that we have one set of minutes for consideration this evening. Liz, are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
With that, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated January 27th, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to agenda item 4, which is to consider the agreement with Oakers Technology for IT hardware and services. I believe we have Bill Hardigan with us and Dave Sequeira. So Bill, come on up. And I'll let you lead off, or David, whatever your preference is.
Sure. All right. All right, so this agreement from Oakers is to replace our existing firewall, which was installed in October of 2018, and it's going to be end of life and end of support in July of 2026. So we want to get ahead of that and get that replaced before it's no longer serviceable and supported and updated and whatnot. So we looked through a couple different vendors, both hardware vendors and service providers to help us install it, and we settled with Oakers. It's the same manufacturer of firewall that we have today. It's built to take the next couple of years. You know, when the existing ones were installed, nobody envisioned in 2018 what we'd have in 2020 with all the video and continue to have today. So the replacement model will hopefully give us the same lifespan as well and provide the same service.
Excellent. David, anything to add?
Yeah, so just a little bit about the vendor as well as the contract. Oakers Technology is located out of Middleborough. They come with over 100 years of technical experience and expertise. They currently serve all of New England with a strong presence within municipalities, specifically working with schools, public safety, and within town halls. They are currently on the OSD, so the Operational Service Division contract within the state. Guarantees a fair and competitive pricing for IT hardware services. And the payment method for this contract would be that the contractor will invoice the town on a monthly basis. The term of the contract is through June 30th of 2027. The funding source is IT Capital FY26, and the total contract amount is $53,272.68.
David, thank you. Tom, where's the $53,000 coming from?
The
IT budget? IT capital budget.
Yep.
Excellent.
That was approved last year.
Approved last year. Great. All right. Liz, do you have any questions?
How long do you expect the project to take?
Once we get the hardware in, within a month, we should have flipped over to the new one.
Okay. Okay, great. So what happens through 2027? Is that their support of it, or?
Right, we got a full year of support from the
Okay.
date we installed it.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you.
Julie, any questions?
Yeah, so just jumping on what Liz just asked, so you're buying something and then the support ongoing for that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this purchase includes 1 year of support, so we don't have to buy that separately. It's all bundled in for the first year.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great. Do any members of the public have any questions or comments about this agenda item? All right, seeing none, I would take a motion.
I make a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign the agreement with Okers Technology for IT hardware and services in an amount not to exceed $53,272.68.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. Bill, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bill.
Good to see you.
Next item on the agenda is to consider the amendment number 8 to the agreement with Diggett Construction LLC for the Route 3A Broad Cove Pump Station Force Main Improvement Sewer Project. We have with us Russ Tierney, our Director of Sewer and Water. So Russ, can you just walk us through what you're asking us to do tonight?
Sure, absolutely. So in July of 2025, the elevation of the proposed discharge pipe from our new pump station, from the pump station to our new force main, had to be changed from the original design to accommodate the new flow meter and avoid additional unknown underground structures on the site. When they did the radar penetration, there was a couple structures that were deeper than the radar went. And when we started digging, looking for the old force main, we ran into some concrete and a bunch of other things. So we didn't want to have to come in there with jackhammers and take it out. So we came up with raising up that pipe. That also helps us in the future where we don't have to dig down 15 feet to ever fix it again, which we should never have to do. However, we wanted to raise it up to about 8 feet. After we met with the contractor, the design engineers, the town engineer, and others, it was decided that the elevation of the pipe header had to be changed. So what the pipe header is where all the 3 pipes at Broad Cove come together, then they push out into the system. So it's a bunch of piping that's in the building. We also wanted to increase the size because we want to be able to handle any additional flow that might come through the building. The interior, raising the pipe will improve the hydraulics. It'll give us a real-time flow meter for that station and also improve overall control of the 3 pumps. The existing pumps have been in there since 1956, 2 of them. One is brand new, installed about 2 years ago. These are actual grinder pumps. We actually have a grinder called a Muffin Monster that grinds right now. If we put these other 2 pumps in, we can eventually eliminate that piece of equipment out of the station because the 3 pumps were built to do that. The 2 new pumps are also more efficient, energy efficient. They can handle more flow, and again, they work better with each other with hydraulics. The pump station traverses about 95% of our North Sewer District flow. So if that station goes down, we are in a lot of trouble with trying to keep up with it. We'd have to bypass pump. So it's very important that this station is our best station, which is where we're headed with it. Now, to ensure it continues without interruption and accommodate the new header of elevation, while not only improving the hydraulics and efficiency, the reconfigured system will be safer for our operators to inspect and maintain, and we're recommending the replacement of the 2 original pumps, all pertinent valves, check valves, and other mechanical joints. Currently, we're running one of the new pumps and the 2 old pumps, and one of the old pumps now has a leaking check valve. So things are just starting to fail because of the age. So we're asking for this change order for unforeseen circumstances with the project that we originally had designed.
David, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, just quickly. So the approval is amendment number 8 with Diggett Construction LLC. The requested change order amount is $462,672. Unlike 30B, the current statute under Public Works 3039M does not have a threshold that requires us to go back out to bid. So in essence, we're in our right to approve this amount. The requirements for change orders would fall under the categories of unforeseen site conditions, suspension and delay of project, or changes to plans and specifications, which is exactly what we would be approving. And ultimately, this change order extends the time to complete the work on or before 141 calendar days from today, with a goal completion date of May 29th of 2026.
Excellent. Russ, is the 462, is that coming from ARPA money still, the federal money?
No, that's the borrow from the approved article from.
From town meeting
Town
2 years ago, okay, it's from the town meeting article, the borrowing. All right, great. Well, it's an important project. I think we're making some great headway on the project, but it went all summer long. I thought it was pretty well done, very complicated, given the nature of what we're trying to do there. And my compliments to you, Russ, the sewer department, and the sewer commission. So I'll see if Julie has any additional questions.
Yeah, the pump station is the intersection of Thaxter, Downer, and 3A,
Yes.
is that where it is? Okay. And then the borrowing that happened 2 years ago, that was just for the sewer budget, borrowing for the sewer?
It was for the sewer, yes, for the sewer
Okay,
project
so
on 3A.
It wasn't anything to do with the water system?
No,
It was a
just-
separate article for sewer?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Liz, any questions?
Can you just review the timeline again? I know the term of the contract is May. When do you think those start?
They're ready to start this now. We're actually setting up the interior stuff and the staging and stuff now.
Okay.
Just waiting for you guys to say, okay, and then I can start bypass pumping, pull the 2 pumps. Because the entire time we're doing this work, we have to bypass pump the station, and we're bringing in 3 6-inch pumps to do that. But with the new force main, we don't have to, we're gonna leave them right on the property, because we actually made a connection within the manhole that's on the property to run a pipe down, so that nothing's out in the street or anything like that. It's all on the property bypassing, so it should be fine.
Okay, and is there any impact to residents or disruption of service?
No, nope.
Okay, great, thank you.
Do any members of the public have any questions or comments about this agenda item? All right, seeing none, I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign the amendment number 8 to the agreement with Dig It Construction LLC for the Route 3A Broad Cove Pump Station Force Main Improvement Sewer Project in an amount not to exceed $462,672.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, motion carries unanimously. Russ, thanks very much, David, as always.
Thank you.
Appreciate the great work. All right, next item on the agenda is a discussion and possible votes on the 2026 annual town meeting warrant articles. We're going to take up 2 citizen petitions this evening. The first one is going to be warrant article HH. It's a citizen petition related to the establishment of a youth commission. I believe, is Mr. Buckley on the line?
All right, guys, can you hear me?
We can, Henry. Start off with your name and address for those who don't know you.
All right, fantastic. My name is Henry Buckley. My address is 235 Lincoln Street in Hingham. I hope you'll pardon me for intruding myself at a time when you're preparing very important articles for this year's warrant. Mine should be brief. I have a presentation. We could either do the presentation, or I could give you a brief rundown of what my warrant article asks. Oh, there's my presentation. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead with the presentation. I'm going to give you some time to present it.
All right, fantastic. So the presentation has been assigned HH. It's to establish a youth commission, and the next slide is the exact wording of the article. That's the article right there. That's the full text that will appear in the warrant. Then the next slide. I'm asking town meeting to accept Section 8E of Chapter 40 of the General Laws, I highlighted the main purpose, which is to carry out programs which may be designed or established to meet the opportunities, challenges, and problems of youth in Hingham. The select board members have been given a full copy of the text, and it is available online at malegislature.gov. Importantly, in the next slide, this is something that's very important to me. The article asks for $0 from town meeting right now. So we're not asking town meeting to appropriate funds, issue bonds, or to immediately hire employees. So the process to getting a youth commission started starts with a citizen, me. I submitted it to you guys, and then we'll go to town meeting. So if town meeting votes to approve it, then it would be on this board to appoint between 3 and 21 members, which the law provides. So the option statute that you're accepting provides that you can appoint between 3 and 21, and then we can start business. And the law that we're accepting being a local option statute means that there are precedents all across the Commonwealth. So if you'll go to the next slide and then the one after that, I am giving you two examples. One is Weymouth and one is Lexington. So essentially, just as a background, Chapter 40 of the general laws is, provides regulations or laws rather for municipalities, and it gives towns the options to accept the creation of a few commissions that will impact resident demographics or community groups and needs. I think there are 6 listed in bullet points. Those are commissions which the town has already accepted. So I'm drawing a comparison to a council on aging, which is, a commission formed by town meeting by accepting a state statute that affects a specific age. That is essentially what my warrant article is asking for. And it's similar to a council on aging because they are supposed to carry out programs and advocate for older residents. So though these are a lot of statutes that the town has accepted, we currently have not accepted a youth commission and also 3 others, which include a consumer advisory commission, a mapping commission, and agricultural commission. So on the next slide, you'll see these are a few youth commissions that have been accepted and established around the greater Boston area. These are around us. And then the next slide, I provide an example of Lexington because it has a similar population to Hingham and a similar average household income, and you'll find a lot of the same community characteristics. So their youth commission was created by the town accepting Section 8E, similar to or the same as my warrant article. They hold monthly meetings. They have an awards program. They appoint a youth advisory committee, which includes 30 high schoolers, organized directly under the youth commission to provide input on community issues. And it has adult members and 2 liaisons, one from the rec commission and one from the select board. And the next slide. The next example is Weymouth. I chose Weymouth because it's, obviously next to Hingham. And they took a little bit of a different, idea. They run a teen center. They have a full-time director. And it was established to address, different issues than Hingham, but still issues. And they have liaisons from the school committee, the mayor's office, and the police department. All right. And then, so with the precedents you've learned and what my article is asking, this is my vision. So a word on this, my vision is not what is going to happen. That is just what I envisioned a potential youth commission to look like. So it involves 7 members, 3 appointed at large, representing a cross-section of community members, and 1 resident aged 15 to 17, 1 member recommended by the school committee who's not a student, 1 recommended by the rec commission, and 1 by the human rights commission. It would be my vision and goal in fiscal year 27 for the commission to appoint a youth advisory committee of residents aged 14 to 18 to provide input on community issues and to get involved in local government, which I think is something that has been a priority for this board that I've seen and certainly taken advantage of in my years as a young person in Hingham. I'd also like to sponsor an awards program for youth. I think there are so many youth in Hingham that provide valuable community services that should be recognized and to meet at least bi-monthly to accomplish these goals. And the next slide will give you a word on a potential youth advisory committee. My vision is that it is, up to 30 members as kind of a subcommittee of the Youth Commission and chartered by the Youth Commission. It's made up of people in 8th through 12th grade. They need not attend Hingham schools. This is not related to schools. This is just young people. And then the other bullet points give you a organizational structure that, is what I envision. The next slide, this one's kind of long. I'll summarize it for you. Although my warrant article is very short and it just the town accepts the creation of the youth commission. So What I would recommend is that the select board additionally charge, should town meeting approve this article, the select board would additionally charge the youth commission with a few more responsibilities, hopefully to carry out, make it a truly, regionally acclaimed youth programming commission. Then the next slide, just to tie up some loose ends. My vision is not going to be the final product of what this board looks like should town meeting and you and advisory approve it. I look forward to working with community stakeholders and fellow residents to develop a truly fantastic youth commission, no matter what it looks like. And, living in Hingham for the past 18 years, I've been able to learn about, how wonderful it is. And, the town, we have such a strong history of community service and volunteerism. Is really inspiring to see as a young person. And I hope that we can inspire and empower more youth in Hingham as the years go on. So I ask the select board respectfully to vote that Article HH ought to pass at annual town meeting. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, my email and cell phone numbers on the next page. I encourage any resident or select board member to call or email me. Do you have any questions for me right now?
We might, Henry, and first of all, I want to.
Absolutely.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah. So
Yes.
first of all, Henry, I want to thank you for putting this forward and the discussion, and also, obviously, you've done a tremendous amount of research on this issue, and it's very much appreciated. In terms of what the Youth Commission tackles, is the charge specifically from the Select Board, or does the Commission talk about issues they want to take up?
So because the article, the warrant article is so vague, that the state, which writes the statutes, basically says that the commission can carry out programs. It doesn't have to. So that's kind of the purpose. And I don't envision carrying out programs. The rec does a pretty good job of that right now. So it's up to town meeting to establish the commission. And yeah, I would assume and suppose that the select board would additionally charge the youth commission with a few of their goals. But because it's created by, town meeting, the legislative body, they're more independent than a board that was just chartered or charged by the select board.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And any way we can get people more civically involved, particularly your youth, is a great suggestion. I also like the fact that you had that $0 sign up. That was probably that made me very happy, given
right.
where we're at right now. My only hesitation to support this year and at this time is that I know that the select board staff, Tom, Katie, Art, Sam, Sharon, are stretched very, very thin in terms of their ability to support existing boards and existing commissions and committees. So I have some hesitation about adding more to their plate, given the fact that I often hear from the chairs of other committees saying they need more from the select board office, so they need more from our full-time employees at town hall. So I love the idea. I think it's a great discussion. My concern is our ability to staff it properly, knowing how stretched thin the current staff is. But let me see what my colleagues think. So Liz, I'll turn to you.
Sure. Thank you, Bill.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Henry, for bringing this forward, and great job on the presentation. Really appreciate all your efforts here. I love this idea in theory. I share similar concerns as Chairman Ramsey in terms of bandwidth. And just one other point I would bring up is redundancy. I think it might be worth going through the exercise to say, where are our young people engaged in town government? I think there are opportunities there. I'd love to see more of that, and certainly encourage any young person to fill out a talent bank application. There are opportunities on current boards and commissions, as you know.
Right.
We have a student member on the Human Rights Commission. The school council reps attend the school committee meetings and are involved in that process. So I love the idea of more engagement, but I would want to kind of assess what opportunities exist right now and identify those gaps to help, develop what the charge of this youth commission might be. Because I think you're right, there probably is a need. I just don't know exactly how to quantify that at this time.
Yeah, it's difficult to articulate right now.
Yeah, but I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate you bringing it forward. I think this year might not be the year for it. Maybe we have to go through that process and analysis, but certainly would consider it at a future town meeting.
Absolutely.
Julie, any thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Henry. Thank you for doing the work to put together this article. You've done a lot of homework, and I wanted to know about when you talked to Lexington and Weymouth. I'm not sure if you were able to connect with members of their youth commissions or not, but I was curious about what initiatives or programs that those youth commissions have worked on or succeeded at enacting in their towns.
Okay, so I did reach out to Lexington specifically. They did not get back to me, but I did research the programs and services the programs that they promote, and a lot of it and this is, I hope, addresses some of Ms. Klein's concerns that it's not necessarily about creating programs, but streamlining, and it's about streamlining youth access to community services and advocating for youth to higher authorities like the select board or the school committee. So what Lexington does is they specifically host an awards program. So they honor youth that do services in the community, and they liaise with other boards and agencies in town to make sure that their programs are being appropriately designed to meet the needs of youth. And I hope that this board would be able to act independently without the need for executive staff. And I think Lexington's does that very well, and Weymouth's does that very well. They also have a full-time director, so it's not a great metric. But in Lexington, as far as I've been able to tell, they've been very easily able to work independently to offer really constructive services for youth in Lexington.
Thank you. So if town meeting creates this committee, as you know, if you go to the town's website and you look up all the boards and committees that we already have in Hingham, there are many. And even though there is work that is seemingly independent work that doesn't require staff, it actually does require some oversight of somebody at town hall. You want a committee that's created and that is working to do efforts, either being liaising with other committees or streamlining efforts or advocating, that you would need some touch point back to town hall. And in my experience working on other committees, I've just found that that we are stretched very thin across town hall in terms of connections from staff to these committees and being a resource if needed, or just knowing what's going on with the committee. I just think that it's important for general oversight. So I like this idea in general. I just think that there are more things that could be worked out and identified more specifically for this committee.
I know the important work that your board does, and your officers and the town administrator. And if this article is something that will put a strain on the wonderful staff members at town hall or the other boards, then it's not something that I want to put pressure on the town for. So I wouldn't want to add a pressure to your staff and your own plates for something that is already being taken care of. So they definitely don't want to add a pressure to you guys.
Thank you for that sentiment. It's appreciated. I see a couple hands up. We'll go to Diane DiNapoli. Diane, if you could state your name and address, please. Do you look unmuted on our end, Diane? Can you hear us all right? Are you there? Okay, maybe we'll come back to her. We'll go to the next person, which is Jessica, and I can't read the last name. Is it Jessica? Ms. Neefsey, go ahead. Name and address,
Hi,
please.
can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is actually Marcus Neefsey. This is my wife's account. Marcus Neefsey, 133 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, Hingham. I am a local pediatrician, and I would just like to voice my, in favor of this. I think a lot of times what we decide as adults don't reflect the children's needs or what they actually desire. I understand that there's some usual, bureaucratic stuff that goes behind there, but it doesn't sound like this is going to be a huge burden on the town, particularly given the amount of stuff that the town already deals with. I think that, particularly given the fact that we already have a council on aging, a council on youth seems to be appropriate. I also think that while young people are often invited into other councils or meetings or whatever, they're often overshadowed. They feel pressured. They feel like they are just welcome to be there, but not really have a voice. So I really think that having their own agenda is important.
Dr. Neefsey, thank you very much. Let's go back to Diane. Diane's hand's still up. Maybe see if we can. Diane, can you hear us?
I can hear you, but I'm not sure if, can you hear me?
Yep, you're good. Yeah, go ahead. Name and address,
Oh,
please.
great, thank you. Sorry about that. I have a new computer. Diane DiNapoli, 16 Gardner Street. And I just wanted to thank you, Henry, for bringing this forward. It's a really interesting idea. And about 5 years ago, I reinstated the Hingham Commission on Disability. So I'm familiar with the work and staff that's needed to assist with something like this, even setting up bylaws and having people interview it. And I'd be happy to kind of just sit with you and kind of tell you a little what I went through and what actually happened. So don't give up. It's certainly a very important mission. And I would encourage, if this comes back, to maybe consider having a student with a disability be on the commission. I saw you had students from 8th to 12th grade, and one would be appointed from the Human Rights Commission. But I think it's really important that a student with a disability would be as part of the board. And I appreciate your efforts. Thank you, Henry.
Diane, thank you. Anyone else? All right, with that, I'm going to make a motion to recommend no action on Article HH.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Henry, you're still going to have the opportunity to go over to AdCom, okay?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
All right, best of
you.
luck. Have a good evening.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Henry.
thanks. Bye.
Next item on the agenda is our warrant article II. It's a citizen's petition related to the transfer a parcel of land, 200 High Street, assessor parcel 124-0-32. I see Mrs. Ryan here. You go up to the lectern, and we're happy to pull up your PowerPoint.
Thank you. I first wanted to start off to recognize what a privilege it is to be able, as a citizen, to bring a petition. And it's something that I don't take for granted, to be able to do this and participate. There are many people that live in countries that would not have the opportunity. So I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you to our military for bringing us to this day and the opportunity to make this petition. So with that being said, this is the language of the petition, and it relates to the approximately 6 acres of land by Plymouth River. And I really want to focus on that parcel. And that parcel was selected for an Article 97 land swap. This is the language, and it basically says, and my goal here is, regardless of what happens in any other vote, this parcel that was selected by the conservation officer, the town engineer, has a lot of amazing conservation qualities. And I think those qualities are worth protecting. So that's the ultimate goal of this article. I'm not going to go through the language because it's just not interesting and exciting. Maybe the next slide, Katie. Thank you. Oh, that's the word. What was the, yeah, maybe the next slide. I think that was the same visual. Yes, so that's the visual. That's the 6 approximate articles at Plymouth River. and I'm not going to say that much more right now. It would be added to the conservation parcel, which is beside it. It's still above it, is still part of the school, Plymouth School parcel. Next slide. So, and as part of the great work that's already happened with this process, the survey has been done. So much of this work has already been done to identify this parcel and do all the predicate steps that it could be added to the Conservation Commission parcel. So it's almost like so much of the work has been done, and this is that schematic. And I know this was presented to the planning board to get their sign off or confirmation that it doesn't trigger subdivision laws to be able to divide the school parcel and add it to the Conservation Commission parcel. So the next slide, and I know that's so hard to read. And this is just me zooming in until that section that the planning board signed off that it's not subject to the subdivision control law. And so the next part is actually the video, Katie. And I tried to do a video clip, but unfortunately my IT skills are just not up to snuff. And so Katie's just going to play a snippet from town meeting where, I know she's in the audience, Attorney Murphy describes that parcel. Hopefully this works.
Media friend may need to.
Can we hear? Oh, no. You know what? Maybe I can do something different.
Do you mind getting his attention?
Mesh. But you can, because it's a Zoom, I don't know if he's able to.
So I've never had to do video through Zoom, but if you go to the Zoom, it might be because you're muted.
Yeah.
But if you do that, you need to turn your speaker all the way down so that the audio doesn't come through. But other than that, I don't really know.
Oh, I could also just do this.
Other than that, I'm not really sure what else.
Should she just stop that for right now?
That was it. And the point of that just video clip is just to reiterate the conservation value of that parcel. Thank you. And so, yeah, you can skip that. That was my attempt at putting the clip in. And so the approval, as I mentioned, here are the minutes from the planning board where this item was brought, and the planning board passed a motion in connection with that divvying up of that land. Next slide, please. In connection also with Article 97, because it was under the use of the school committee and the select board entered a memorandum of understanding, and in that memorandum of understanding, the school committee determined that the land was surplus for school purposes. I just have an excerpt there where they talk about it as significant value as conservation land, and so that the School committee is determined that notifies the select board that the replacement land is not needed for educational purposes. The next section C talks about conditions of this transfer to the Conservation Commission, and it says, hey, it's contingent on passing town meeting approval and proceeding with the HCAL project. But it does say in the event that the town does not satisfy the conditions or otherwise does not intend to proceed, the school committee can, by written notice, rescind its determination that this parcel of land is no longer needed by the school board, or the select board. No, by the school committee. I have reached out as well to the school committee, let them all know about this article. I've also let the Conservation Commission know about this article, because my intent here is to protect this land, recognizing the conservation value of it. So in the next slide, that is just some of the pictures of this land. There's actually a sign when you enter it that talks about, because there's bow hunting allowed on the conservation parcel. And even when the Conservation Commission was reviewing this parcel, they recognized sometimes it's really hard. You can't really tell where the school lot begins and where the conservation parcel begins, because it's all kind of passive recreation land. So, and I think that's the last slide. That is the genesis of this citizens petition. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and if anyone has any questions.
Great. Well, thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it. Thank you also for the research and the time you took to put it forward. I guess my biggest concern, and I do admire what you're trying to do here in terms of protecting the land. My only concern would be that I did do some research this weekend about the authority of an independently elected school committee, and Massachusetts general law gives that school committee, independently elected, the ability to dispose, acquire, transfer, basically do with their land what they want. And a town meeting vote would not bind them. So even if town meeting voted to authorize or adopt this article, the school committee would not be bound by it. And so I guess that would be my concern in putting it forward. So the sentiment you express, you can still express to the school committee, but they would not be bound by an act of the legislature in this case, because it deals with property. And I did confirm that this afternoon with town council, who agreed with me that that is correct. But let me see what my colleagues think. Liz?
Well, thank you, Anita, for bringing this forward. Yes, I agree with you, Bill. I'm not sure what this would change in terms of, obviously, we don't have jurisdiction over the school committee. Are there concerns that this area won't be protected? It is, conservation land.
Right. I think the question is what the school committee would do with it if the HCAL doesn't go forward.
Right, okay.
And I think the point is, in the MOU, it had been contemplated that would be up to the school committee.
Yes. Okay.
And I would argue it would still be up to the school committee. Right. I mean, the point is, though, I can't imagine, although who knows, that if at town meeting the vote passes and the citizens of the town vote to protect this land, that the school committee would suddenly say, oh no, we need that land for school purposes. It just, it gives them sort of an indication of what the desire of the town would be. And I can't imagine that the school committee, I could be wrong, but they could decide something different. I think it would give some guidance to the school committee. And they have the opportunity, if they want, to put their hand up per the MOU and say, no, we've changed our mind. We think we need this land for school purposes.
Julie, any questions? Yeah.
Thanks, Anita. I'm a little bit confused about this article, because this is conservation land. It does not seem to be.
It's not conservation.
Okay,
land.
well, it's wetlands. I walked it years ago. The Hingham Land Conservation Trust did a walk. I walked that land, and I just can't imagine the schools would say, well, we're going to just build something on that. But we already had the vote at town meeting last year for the Chapter 97 legislation, so I guess I'm just not understanding why the need for this article.
Because the land is not actually legally protected. And it's not under the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. So because it's not protected, the goal here would be to complete that protection and have it conveyed and be part of the conservation parcel, the Conservation Commission parcel, because it's not currently.
Yep. So this could be something that could be put forward at town meeting next year if the HCAL project was not built at the Bear Cove Park site. This doesn't have to be done right now, right?
Well, I would advocate that this year is the ripe year to do it because we are talking about the parcel of land, and I'd hate a year to go by when something else happens. We've had that land there, when you think about it, for so long, and I think it would be great to protect it. We voted on it last year to do the swap, and so I think the time would be great to protect it now.
Okay.
I would just, talking with the school committee, I talked to them a lot about their budget. I talked to them a lot about their capital needs and their dollars. And there's no, I haven't been told this specifically, but I have not inferred anything from the school committee that they would be ready to do anything with this land other than to preserve it as natural state. So I don't know if the urgency to act on this is necessary for this April. I understand your concern about protecting it. I agree with that to a very large extent, but they don't have capital dollars right now to build anything there. There's no plans in place to do anything there. It's, as Julie pointed out, it's very wet back there. There's a couple fields that were built years ago, but there's a stream that runs back there. I just don't know if it could be anything except, what it currently is. But those are my thoughts. Did you want to add something? Yeah, sure. Come on up. Yeah.
We go to the table.
Susan Murphy, Special Real Estate Counsel. I just want to add another note, and I kind of understand on one perspective the idea of almost like a referendum type of, let's tell the school committee this is what we want them to do. But the select board has control of land, the rec commission, the conservation commission, the bathing beach trustees, the GAR hall, school committee. I don't know if the town wants to set a precedent of residents coming forward and saying, select board or conservation commission or bathing beach trustees, we want you to do this with your land, and because we all voted at town meeting, you now should do what we're telling you to do with the land. So I do think that there's something from a precedent standpoint to suggest that the legally granted rights of boards that are permitted to have care, custody, and control of land, that it should create a precedent to tell them what to do with that land. So I would keep that in mind, just because it's an issue that could come up in the future. So I just wanted to add that for you. The other thing to keep in mind, and again, I think the school committee, obviously did agree for the purposes of the HCAL. They did reserve their rights. But even land that may not be buildable, and there's plenty of parcels of land, whether they're publicly owned or privately owned, that may have natural resource values, and maybe portions of it aren't buildable, and they would be subject to conservation buffer zones and all those types of things. But they also contribute to the overall land area. So if you have minimum land area, or if you have FAR that you can only build on a certain portion of the land, then having more land is sometimes a benefit, even if portions of that land aren't buildable. So there may be other reasons why holding on to land that you own is of value. So I just wanted to give those two ideas to the board for context.
Thank you. Sure, go ahead.
So just on the points, I would suggest that this is a very unique situation and a unique parcel, because we as a town identified the 6 acres to be added to conservation. This is not some sort of a citizen going off on a whim and suggesting to this board and the town that all of a sudden we transfer a particular piece of land that was never contemplated to be transferred. A year ago, we voted and we're specifically asked as citizens to do a swap and to put this land in conservation. And so it's following through with that ethos that I'm suggesting. So much of the work has been done, so much of the investment has been made, the legal fees, the schematic, and so the thinking is, for this unique circumstance where we as a town have identified this land that we want to put in conservation, let's complete that and follow through with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board before I open public comment?
No other questions,
Seeing
thank
none.
you.
All right, we'll start with Mr. Ross. Go ahead.
Joshua Ross, 125 Wampatuck Road. Not to get ahead of anyone, but can we talk about what the implications would be if this land was designated change, what that would do to the already approved Article 97 process? So would that change that at all if this was land that was, the designation was changed?
I don't think it would, but let me ask Susan her opinion about it. She would know better than me.
No,
Yeah.
because it wouldn't, first of all, there's already, the town meeting vote there's existing case law that the town meeting vote wouldn't be sufficient either, or that the town meeting vote would have to be recorded, et cetera. There's other steps that would have to happen. So this in and of itself would not affect the process that the town's already gone through.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And just to be clear, I'm not trying to change anything of the existing process. I'm not trying to affect that at all. That's been completed, that's done. This doesn't go to that or try to refer to anything that's happened with the Article 97.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else in the room or online? All right, seeing none. All right.
Does Diane
Oh,
still have her name?
oh, I'm sorry, Diane, go ahead.
She keeps on going up and down.
It kind of keeps going up and down, right? It was up earlier. Diane, your hand was up earlier. Do you want to make a public comment?
It's back up. Where'd she go?
Here you go.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, at this computer. Diane DiNapoli, 16 Gardner Street. I did have a question about the bow hunting near a school. Is that anything that would change if it became conservation land? I don't know if that's a question for Anita or Mrs. Murphy. And then I understand maybe not, the thought isn't to not do this right now, but I do think a tremendous amount of work and effort has gone into identifying this property as important enough to switch for potentially 5 acres at Bear Cove. When I voted on that last year, I kind of thought, well, if we're losing this, we're gaining this. So we don't know what'll happen with Cal. Obviously, maybe, it's anyone's game. But it does seem like if it's valuable enough land that we all thought last year to preserve it, why wouldn't we want to still preserve it and keep it perhaps under the conservation umbrella? Thank you.
Thank you. Do you know the answer to the hunting question? I'm pretty sure hunting's restricted within at least 200 feet of a school.
Yeah, the Conservation Commission has bylaws related to hunting. They also designate what parcels it can be done on, so they have total control over what happens where.
Yeah, my understanding is hunting is only allowed in limited areas of South Hingham for Wanderers Drive. But thank you for the question. Anyone else? All right. Sounds like a sense of consensus amongst us. So then I would offer a motion to recommend no action on Article II.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries. Anita, thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is to discuss the new Center for Active Living building update. We have Attorney Murphy with us here to walk us through what's going on with the permitting process.
Just wanna get my notes together here. Okay. Susan Murphy, Special Real Estate Counsel. We don't need the slides yet. I'll let you know when it's time for those. Thanks. Okay, so just to provide an update, in the permitting realm for the project, the items that the project were required to achieve was the Article 97 legislation that has made it through the legislature, and the governor signed the bill on February 6th. So the Article 97 has been approved, and there's nothing further that the town's required to do at this point. It's satisfied all of the statutory requirements under Article 97. As part of that process, the town submitted a pretty substantial package to the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs, and that was an alternatives analysis. So the State Environment Agency looked at all of the same alternatives that the Building Committee and the Select Board looked at and town meeting in determining to go forward with the site off Bear Cove Park Drive, and then looked at the parcel that the Select Board was just discussing to determine whether or not it was of equal or greater monetary value, size, or natural resource value, and they found that they did, and they made that recommendation to the legislature, and both houses of the legislature voted unanimously. It required a 2/3 vote from both houses, and both houses voted unanimously, and the governor signed the bill. So the town has now fully completed and complied with that process. On the local level, the project required first, well, it didn't require it, but it was important to do it to confirm where the wetland line is, and associated with the wetland, there is a 100-foot buffer zone. So in order to make sure that the project was staying fully out of any wetland resources and would not kind of interfere with any of the wetland resources that are nearby, the project team did file what's called a request for determination of applicability, and one of the determinations that they could request was confirmation of the delineation of the wetlands. So that went before, I believe, either three meetings of the Conservation Commission, where wetland scientists went out, flagged the wetlands, placed them on a plan. The Conservation Commission then has a third-party peer reviewer, Horsley and Witten. They also went out to the site. They went out twice. They met the applicant out there. They determined where the flags would be. Some minor adjustments were made. But in the end, when they replotted them, it still kept the wetlands and the 100-foot buffer outside of the area to be disturbed. So that was voted unanimously by the Conservation Commission on February 9th. And the other two permits were related to the zoning bylaw. The first one was a special permit for the use from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And this use falls under a building for government use. That's the general category that it falls under. It required a special permit. And the zoning board reviewed and approved that permit in January. So that permit has been received. And the second piece of it is site plan review. And I brought my zoning bylaw just because just to not have it all off the top of my head here. But just so people understand what site plan review is. And site plan review has a number of performance standards, and they speak to the site design, the character and scale of the building, so the architecture, stormwater, which was a significant subject for the property, the utilities, safe pedestrian vehicular access and traffic management, and then safety along the roadways, also lighting, and ensuring that the lighting was properly scaled so that it wouldn't impact the surrounding areas. So the planning board had 2 hearings on the site plan review. In between the hearings, the project team, with the assistance of the town engineer, was able to go out and do test pits with very minimal disturbance of the area. And I think it's the town's assistant town engineer said, these are the types of soils you dream about when you are designing a stormwater system. So they found that the site could very well handle the stormwater without affecting the surrounding areas. So the planning board, there were 4 members acting, one was recused, but the planning board also voted unanimously to grant site plan approval. So that's all of the permitting aspects of the project have gone through the necessary process.
So Susan, so just to summarize, the zoning board has approved it?
Zoning-
The Conservation Commission has approved it, and the planning board has approved it?
Correct.
And the governor, when did the governor's office sign the?
February 6th.
February 6th. And can you talk a little bit about, obviously the governor, I'm assuming that the governor based her recommendation on, her signature based on the recommendation of the Environmental Affairs Secretary?
No, so
Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs makes a recommendation to the House and Senate. The House and Senate then each take a 2/3 vote, and it's handled like any other bill. Once the House and the Senate have voted, it's placed on the governor's desk the same way every other bill is. And then the governor has 10 days to sign it, or it automatically becomes law, and the governor signed it before the 10 days expired.
Great. I do have another issue I want to bring up with you, but when we talk just about the permitting, local permitting, the governor's issue first, and then I want to ask you about one other issue too. But Julie, do you have any questions about what Susan has summarized so far?
No, I've been following along with these boards, and so I'm up to speed on that. Thank you.
Liz?
Yes, thank you, Susan, I know this has been a tremendous amount of work. Yes, I understand what you said, and there are no other permits that we're seeking, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So Susan, since you've given an update on the permitting process, actually, this update's on the new Center for Active Living building update. So I believe when you were here in the fall, you talked about all the sites that were considered, and recently there's been some renewed interest in the Hitchcock Shoe Building. I know you talked about this in the fall, but could you kind of go over this again, the process that would be required to look at the site and to consider the site? I know you have a lot of knowledge about it, so.
Sure, and I work with Mr. Mayo on this today, so Katie, would you mind pulling up the first slide? Is it, I don't know if it's possible to make it any bigger, but on the screen, but. So in speaking with Mr. Mayo today, I think this was discussed, as you mentioned, back in October. At that time, the building was under agreement, but a lot of the comments that I made or the information that I provided to the board kind of applies regardless, right? And so part of what Mr. Mayo wanted to kind of revisit, right, whether it's 225 Beale Street or any other location that members of the public might be interested in saying the town, well, what about this site or that site or this building, was to talk about all of the feasibility requirements that goes into choosing a site. So this is somewhat, generic list that would apply to any project that the town would build. A lot of them apply as well, public safety facility, and if you're going to build any type of new municipal building. And so as you can see, I think there's 15 plus This was a list that was provided by Chris Wanty, who's the lead on the project design team. I'll speak to procurement, which is really the legal part of this that I'm here to talk about in a minute. But as you can see, it's, the site configuration, traffic and, vehicular access, parking analysis. If there's existing buildings, there needs to be a structural review of the building, a review of the mechanical systems. You have to look at the building for current building code compliance, energy code compliance, the Hingham, whether or not it meets Hingham's climate action goals, whether it's an accessible building, the environmental condition of the site, utilities available at the site, and then what the site development costs, all the planning, zoning, and other permitting that might be required, and then the architectural design and the space needs. So all of these, and there may be even more, than what Chris provided today, but focusing on just the procurement, because that's the most important part. And I'll just kind of review what I discussed back in October, which is under Massachusetts law, no community can say, oh, that property, that building is for sale. We're just going to put an offer in. Unless it's an emergency, like health or safety urgent situation, or it's something known as a unique acquisition, that particular site or building in that location is the only one that could meet the town's needs. And I, in October, gave the example of the public safety facility. The public safety facility, what drove that was the relocation of the North Fire Station. And the North Fire Station has a particular call area. So if you tried to go out to bid and all you did was get people offering their properties in South Hingham, that would not serve the needs of the North Fire Station. So something that was so location specific is why the town was able to, and that was after years of looking for parcels, say, okay, this is the parcel that the town would like to move forward on. So that was a very special circumstances. In the case of the Center for Active Living, it doesn't meet those criteria. There is no particular reason why it needs to be on, Beale Street versus Main Street versus, that location is not particular. And it's not as if there's a building, hey, it's already fitted out and we could just move in and bring our furniture and it can operate. So it's not as if the qualities of the building make it so unique and special that it could automatically be turned into overnight a Center for Active Living. So since it doesn't meet, if you don't have a property that meets those qualities, then the steps are the town drafts up a request for proposals, an RFP. And the town has to list all of the qualities it wants, the size of the parcel, if there's a building, the size of the building, the amount of parking, like all of these, what the utilities are, all of these have to go. So you basically create the wish list of the property you're looking for. You put it out to bid. You have to post it in the central register, which is a state central depository. And then you wait for 30 days. And then you see if any bids come in. And then you have to review those bids and see, well, do any of them even meet our criteria? And then you have to see, oh, well, how much money do they want for it? Because you can say in the RFP, well, we don't want to spend more than X dollars. You may or may not get any bids. But it's also, what if they come in and they want $20 million for the property? There's very little control that the town has over who would even offer their properties, where they would be located, what amenities they may or may not have, et cetera. So then once that happens, then you have to do an appraisal. You have to determine whether kind of the price is reasonable that the seller's asking for. So it's a very, drawn out process. And there's never a guarantee that even the property that you want to acquire would even necessarily throw their hat in the ring. So that process would have to happen if there was any desire to go out to bid for private property for the HCAL or any other property. And so I just wanted to speak to that because kind of the thought of, oh, it's on the market again, the town could just go in there and buy it is not how the legal process works. Do you want to go to the next slide? Oh, no, previous one. Yep, thanks. And then, Mr. Mayor, did you want to speak to this one, the costs, this slide, and the costs associated with considering new sites?
Sure. So there are many different types of costs that go into acquiring a site or proposing a feasibility concept for a new site for a project, for any public project. Never mind the scope of what we're proposing with the HCAL. So first and foremost, we would not be able to use, because of the language in the motions, in the articles, for the appropriations previously received, we would not be able to reuse or use any unspent funds from those prior appropriations on a feasibility for a new site. We would have to get new appropriation authority from town meeting. So that's one. And that's true of both 2023 and 2025. We've been told by our contractor, or by our, what is he?
OPM?
Well, not the OPM, it was Chris.
Architect?
The architect, thank you. That the design, delay would cost between $1 and $1.5 million a year just for inflation, inflationary purposes. And then the steps that would have to occur through a town meeting process in order to change and pivot to a new location would be, and the first two bullets might be able to be, sub-bullets would be able to be acquired, completed at the same time, but acquire the property in a feasibility and due diligence appropriation. But then we would need a subsequent appropriation at another town meeting for design and permitting, do that work, and then come back and get a new appropriation again for construction. So that's at least 3 town meeting approvals that would be required to fund this type of a pivot. And presuming we would move at least on that first step in order to meet the timing needs, I would imagine, of someone selling a property, we would probably need a special town meeting, so we'd have the cost of that. And that would, again, tick off the first 2 bullets, but then the next 2 would likely happen at ATM, so you're talking about a 2.5-year delay thereabouts, I would imagine, at minimum. Not to mention the cost of a town meeting. And then, of course, you have the sale price for private property, which would be in excess of the assessed value. Assessed values they're formula-driven. They're not market, while market plays a role, they're not strictly market-driven. So purchase prices regularly greatly exceed that of the assessed value. And then we would remove the private property, so the existing business there would, that private property would become a municipally owned property and be removed from the tax rolls. We're looking at in the ballpark of $60,000 or so a year plus CPC, so there may be another grant, so $61,000 a year would be the impact of losing that property off the tax rolls.
So then, and I had spoken to this back in October as well. The listing broker for the property had put out a marketing brochure. And so obviously, no feasibility study, that whole list of 15 plus items, none of that has been done. But there was a slightly revised, it didn't change it too much, marketing brochure that just came out again in the last month, but they were fairly similar. And Chris Wanty and Dan Platt of the OPM had just eyeballing the building and looking at the photos of what the inside looks like, the year it was constructed, et cetera. And this is just initial, it's a 25,000 square foot warehouse, so just a big open building with very high ceilings with a 6,000 square foot mezzanine, so it's offices, a portion of there's a small portion that's got offices that overlook the where, so it's not even a full second floor. So there's no elevator, so that would involve gutting the entire building. Even though it's a very attractive building from the front, it looks like there's lots of windows. When you go to the sides and the back, some of them have no windows or just very small warehouse windows. So it would basically be a major renovation to the building envelope. I mean, and it's a brick building. So basically knocking huge holes all around the entire building, taking out, there's big delivery doors for big trucks to come load and unload. So all that whole side of the building would probably have to be substantially rebuilt. So it's almost redoing the entire building envelope, maybe except for the facade. It was built in 1992. So Mr. Pilata pointed out that the building systems would require full upgrades to meet the current stretch code. It's also served by natural gas, which doesn't meet the town's climate action goals. So redoing the entire HVAC system to take it off of natural gas and build in a environmentally friendly system would be a substantial cost and undertaking. And then there's only currently 85 parking spaces. There is the ability to, and some people are under the impression there's 140 spaces. There's the ability through permits that had been granted in the past, in the 90s, to expand the site to 140 spaces, but it doesn't currently have that. So it would require a redesign of the entire site plan to try to fit in the minimum number of parking spaces that are needed. Again, this is just information that we shared back in October, and just wanted to revisit it for anyone who hadn't had a chance to get that information. So I think that's
great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate your research on the issue. Liz, do you have any follow-up questions?
No follow-up questions, but thank you, Susan, for going through that again. It's a good refresher.
Any follow-up questions, Julie?
No questions, but thank you. Like Liz said, it's good to get the information, and as new people pay attention to the HCAL project, they say, oh, what about this? What about that? And this information should be helpful to them. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start in the room first. Mr. Ross, come on up. Name and address, please.
Sure. Joshua Ross, 125 Wampatuck Road. Thanks, Sue, for going over that. And I think if this option had come up years ago, it probably would have been a viable option to look at. And I just want to put a couple of numbers, because we did some subjective items up there, but we have already spent roughly $2 million on design fees already. The assessed value right now is 5.8 million for the property, and if we use the same formula that we used for the public safety building, we would probably be looking at a $7.5 million or $8 million building. The taxes over 30 years, we'd lose approximately $2 million in taxes. So right there, we're already $12 million in the hole without even stepping on the property. We're probably also looking at, like you said, the additional cost of 3 more town meetings, as well as probably another $2+ million in design fee. So $14+ million to switch midstream right now, I just don't think is viable. Not to mention, we have the human costs of dozens and dozens of folks who have put years into this project right now. And so putting the Bear Cove Park option aside, you would basically lose your building committee. You would lose the folks on the Council on Aging. My guess is that people from the HCAL, you'd need to be replaced. There is a human cost and a lot of work that has already gone into this process. So while I appreciate folks paying attention and looking at things like this, I think we are well beyond any other options at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, see a hand up on the Zoom, Diane DiNapoli. See if we can get Diane up again. Diane, go ahead.
This is a question from Mrs. Murphy. The current building, 225, is listed as an LIP. Would that be permitted for government use? Or is that, a zoning no right away?
You're muted.
Yeah, so limited industrial park.
Yes.
No, it would require a special permit.
Okay.
Diane, thank you. Good question. Anyone else on the Zoom who have a question or a comment?
No, can I just clarify one thing?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I just, and I know Josh was speaking off the cuff and trying to make a couple of different points. I just want to be clear that this is not a $29.9 million quote against a $14 million quote. There are a lot of other costs. He stopped at design. We don't know those design costs. Those design costs would probably be north of that, frankly. Then we have all the site evaluation costs. We have, like you said, before we even stepped on, there's a lot of work that goes into stepping onto a property. And then, of course, you'd have to fit out everything. So I just wanted to be clear and make sure everybody understood that from where I sit, I don't see this being a $14 million fit out. I think it would be significantly higher than that. I don't know how much because we're not going down that path right now, but it would be higher than that.
Thank you.
That's what I thought.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I just want to
Sure,
correct
yeah,
what
go
I
ahead.
just said for the record, because I have my zoning bylaw handy. So that use, the public building for government use, is permitted as a right in the three different industrial districts. So it wouldn't need a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals, but it would require site plan review. So all of those items that I listed that the planning board had to review, those would be required. So I just wanted to correct my prior answer.
Thank you.
Happily.
Thank you. All right, Hillary Hosmer, go ahead. Name and address, Hillary, please.
I'm Hillary Hosmer, 204 Linden Ponds Way. I put a question up that nobody answered. My understanding was in order to do the Article 97 swap, the town had to prove that there was no other location that would possibly meet the requirements for the senior center.
Are you asking that as a question or as a statement?
I mean, I'll rephrase it as a question if you want.
Sure, yeah, is that, if she's asked if that's accurate?
No.
Thank you, Hillary.
Yeah, is that the question?
I think that's the question, yeah.
Yeah, so the town put together a substantial package which went through for the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs, all of the due diligence that the town had done in all the various locations that it had done feasibility studies on, and presented that to the state agency, and they determined that an alternatives analysis was sufficient.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, and you did do the 225 possibility back then? You submitted it to the Environmental Affairs. Did you submit it to the Environmental Affairs?
At the time that the town was moving forward with the Article 97 petition, that was not anything that had ever been discussed by the town or the select board. That came up and was brought to the select board's attention in October, and the town had filed the Article 97 petition and the information with the EA months prior to that. So it would not have been included. And I don't believe it was ever included in any of the HCAL Building Committee or Select Board discussions, so it was never part of the town's feasibility study.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. Now, I personally have been into the building and toured it with the realtor. It looked to me like the walls were curtain walls, and they could be, more windows could be put in. it looked to me like it would be much easier to expand this building, if needed, than it would be to expand the building that is proposed at Bear Cove Park. The one at Bear Cove Park is planned to be 25,000 square feet. The one that it currently exists is already 25,000 square feet, but it does have the option of being built up within. As you pointed out, it would need to have an elevator if it was expanded within. But is the building that's planned at Bear Cove Park available for more expansion?
I'm not sure.
I just asked this because the
Yeah, briefly.
planning board meeting that I went to was very concerned about how many people would be using this building. It's very hard to predict. I think you did a great job on the demographics. With the baby boom, there are going to be a lot more seniors. If this is a fabulous building, a lot more, with fabulous programming, a lot more people will come. So I think this building would be more flexible than the one that is being proposed at Bear Cove Park.
Hillary, thank you very much. Yeah,
Just to answer what I think was a question in there about about whether or not the Bear Cove Park design was flexible. I would say the Bear Cove Park design is purpose-built for growth and for the existing and proposed, in other words, the existing and proposed demographics, like you just mentioned, Hillary. So I don't know that we need flexibility in growth on that project, on that building. It is purpose-built for the task for the next 50 years.
Mr. Chair, I would note too, there is limited, it's not a very large site where 225 Beale Street. It has limited parking now. To get the minimum parking, which I believe was around 140 spaces that was proposed, would involve probably getting rid of almost all of the green space that's on there now in order to get the minimum number of parking spaces. The site that's under, and I'm just going off of the presentations from the planning board meetings that were made by the consultants, that there is reserved area so that if there is more demand and more parkings necessary, then that's possible. Where there would be no possibility to expand, if you expanded the building, you would take away parking and there wouldn't be enough parking for that expanded use. So beside the fact that it hasn't been reviewed by a structural engineer, a mechanical engineer, utility, et cetera, all of those aspects of the building.
Thank you.
I
All right, Hillary, your
observed-
time has expired. There are other people who want to talk. Let me go to iPhone, the iPhone person.
Hi,
Name and address,
Hello?
please.
it's Yvette Cantor, 442 Main Street. I just wanted to make an observation. The Hitchcock building is owned by someone who is looking to commercially sell it. I think what we're missing is that they probably don't want to wait 2 years to sell it. So I think we should just keep that in mind. This is going to take us a long process and a more costly process if we were to change pivot position. And I appreciate the enthusiasm, but I don't expect that we would ever be able to get the building because I'm not sure the owner would want to wait 2 years.
Yvette, thank you very much. Diane, is your hand up again, or is that from the last time? Maybe go back to Diane for one more question. Oh, is it down now? It's down. Oh, down, okay. All right. All right, seeing no more. Susan, thank you very much, appreciate that. It's a good update. Thank you for everybody participating. Certainly the discussion continues, and wanted people to know the select board will continue to discuss the HCAL next Tuesday on the 24th, and then also on the 26th. So thank you, everybody. All right, next item on the agenda is the FY27 financial forecast update. I'm going to turn it over to Katie to take us through where we are with the budget.
Thank you. So I just wanted to quickly provide an update on the five-year forecast. Last time we talked, it was January, and we had provided a preliminary forecast. If you remember at the time, the shortfall for FY '27 was at over $1.1 million. What we've been able to do in this second version that we're reviewing tonight is do a couple updates. The rows that have been updated are in blue, just for those that are following along from home. The key updates that we've been able to do with this version of the forecast are, we have the governor's budget that it came out at the end of January. That allowed us to update the state aid, which are revenues to the town, along with the state assessments, which are the expenditures that are made for services for the town of Hingham. We've also been able to update our perspective on the motor vehicle excise tax. There's the January commitment, which is significant, that has given us a solid forecast for FY '26 in order to be able to revise that number upward. And then we've also had some updated guidance in terms of the GIC, which is our town healthcare. We won't have final numbers until March, but they have provided us guidance suggesting that the premium is going to be south of 10%. We had previously taken a conservative position on that, so we've been able to lower our expected healthcare premium, which is obviously reduced expenditures in this forecast. And then last but not least, we did do our large borrowing for the town in February. It disclosed last week, and we've been able to reflect the updated debt service in this schedule. That landed out actually being net neutral. So the three updates that impacted the number were the governor's budget, the adjustment of local receipts for the motor vehicle excise tax, and healthcare. The combination of those provided us the revenues and reduced expenses in order to be able to have the shortfall fall from 1.1 million down to the current forecast of a little over $222,000 in terms of the shortfall. In terms of next steps, we will be back to you in early March with a third version of this, which includes the GIC final numbers. And we're hopeful at that point that we'll have completely resolved the shortfall as it relates to FY '27.
Great.
I'll pause there.
Well, I just want to say, having done this job a couple of years now, I think we're in really good shape. To be at 220 at this point in the process is a really good position to be in. How much do we have in the investment income account?
So in the tax mitigation stabilization, so there's two mechanisms that the board could elect in terms of closing the gap if we need those. The tax mitigation stabilization fund has $3.7 million in it currently. If you remember, the town actually funded that to the tune of 3.5, so you've got a little bit investment income there. That's $200,000 in that tax mitigation stabilization fund.
So we have that available?
Yep.
Don't we have $200,000 in income based on the investment as well? Did I hear that earlier today?
So the 3.5 that was put in terms of principal has grown to 3.7.
Okay, that's 3.7.
Yeah, so
So we have that available?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so we're in,
Exactly.
we're in a strong position for this point in February. So thank you, Kate. Thanks for all the great work you're doing with that. Julie, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Katie. This is definitely a good position to be in, and it's nice to see the process closing in on a final number, and obviously the final number has to be net out to zero. So I had a quick question about the Capital Stabilization Fund, which was established years ago to put in proceeds from selling property or town-owned items. And so at some point you plan to, throughout the capital outlay process, at some point put that number in of what we would use?
For the capital stabilization fund?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. And so the balance on that fund right now is a little over $130,000. And the latest versions of where the capital outlay committee is, they're looking at potentially using $100,000 of that $130,000 this year. So the capital outlay committee has the $3.6 million, which is from the tax levy, and they have proceeds from the capital stabilization fund. So the total budget that they're sort of looking at is 3.7 million, 100,000 from that stabilization fund, and the other 3.6 from the tax levy.
Okay, great. And then the other question I had about the GIC, that you have better guidance, but this is not the final number, is it?
This is not the final number. So mechanically, all that we did in this forecast was that we had previously forecasted at 12% for FY27. I've kept the 12% for the future forecast years to, again, be conservative, but for FY27 specifically, I've lowered the premium increase from 12% to 10%, and that was reduced the healthcare expense by $100,000 in this version of the forecast. We hope to have the final number. As I said, the guidance is suggesting less than 10%, but we don't know exactly where we're going to fall in that range until they release the final premiums. They said they were going to vote on the 26th. Looks like they may not do their final vote on the 26th. Maybe we'll get a little additional guidance, but I think early March, unfortunately, is sort of where we're falling in terms of having final forecast for healthcare.
Okay, and then my final question is the mouthful of a stabilization fund name, the CPCDS Stabilization Fund. And if you could just remind folks about this injection of a source, basically funding per the original funding for foster and public safety facility, and what these dollar amounts represent in the forecast.
Yes. So the CPCDS Stabilization Fund was funded with $7 million from fund balance. In 25 and 26, the town has voted to put $3.2 million of that to work. For the forecast for 27, we are currently including another $2.3 million. What I am suggesting, so of the original 7, after fiscal 27's $2.3 million investment, there would be $1.5 million left on that original 7. But similar to the other conversation, these stabilization funds accrue investment income. So in the case of the CPCDS Stabilization Fund, that account has accrued close to $1 million, a little over $990,000 in investment income. What I am showing currently in the forecast, and this will be a subject of AdCom discussion, is that in FY28, in addition to the $1.5 million of the original $7 million in principal, that we put $500,000 of that investment income to work in terms of reducing the tax burden to the town of Hingham. And then in FY29, we put the remaining amount of the investment income. So that's, in previous years, if you looked at that, there hadn't been a number in FY29. That $492,000 that we've got in there now is that remaining investment income. And again, this is a decision that we make on an annual basis. So all that we'll be recommending is the FY27 number, but I'm just showing up a potential forecast here of how you could utilize not only the remaining principal, but the close to $1 million in investment income that's accrued.
Okay, great. And the result of putting in the funding from this stabilization fund each year means that we're paying less in debt service for these projects. Therefore, it is taking away from the annual tax bill for the taxpayers.
Correct. Exactly.
Thank you.
Liz?
Excellent. Well, thank you, Katie. This is great news. And I love to see this progress, especially at this stage. We're, I think, further along than we have been in other years. So, and just getting closer to that balanced budget. So thank you for all of your work. And just to reiterate and confirm what you were saying, this is, so it's showing the $222,000 deficit, but we haven't allocated any money from the tax mitigation stabilization fund yet.
Correct.
Which is obviously a tool that we can use. We had planned on doing that so that there wouldn't be any tax increase in an override this year. So we're certainly not looking at that. So yeah, I'm excited for March. It should be probably the first week of March. We'll have those final GIC numbers.
Hopefully, it'll be up to the DIC. Once we get them, I'll have the model set up so that I can run the premiums through and be able to create a forecast pretty quickly, but yes, I'm hopeful.
Excellent, thank you.
I think as Tom would say, we have a path to a balanced budget.
Yes.
I just wrote it down.
We have a path.
Earlier this
You stole his
Yeah,
thunder.
it's a nice path. Good
No,
shape.
I
good shape.
did have a couple of other comments, if you don't.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
And
yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
brief. I just wanted to say thank you to Katie. Just so everyone remembers, Katie's been with us for about 90 days. I'm just going to throw that out there. Everything you just heard, that's amazing. Amazing work. And thank you for everything you're doing on that, Katie. I'd also like to remind everybody the importance and the reason that we're seeing this story play out in Hingham, in large part, is for two reasons. It's the spending caps that we put in place when we did the override way back when, and it's the investment income. We've been the recipients of some significant income that we're able to apply to our annual operating budget in a way to offset the need for increased taxes. All along the way, we've been able, as Katie explained, two different ways to apply tax relief everywhere we can. And I would argue relatively significant tax relief, not little pittances here and there, but millions of dollars. So I think that there's been a great plan. We're rolling it out as anticipated, and things are going very, very well. So thank you to Katie. Great job.
Great, thank you. All right. Any members of the public have any questions about the forecast? Not seeing any. Okay. All right, take this to our next item on the agenda, which is appointments and/or reappointments. And with that, I'd make a motion to appoint Megan Tracy to the 4th of July Parade Committee for a term ending December 31st, 2025.
26.
I'm sorry, 2026.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie? I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks for catching that. That would have been a quick term on the Parade Committee. All right, next item on the agenda is general public comment. This is a public comment on items not on the agenda. Does anyone have any public comment this evening? Seeing none, I'd turn now to Town Administrator Select Board reports, and we can start with Katie.
You've heard everything from me tonight.
Good job.
Tom?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Julie?
Nothing, thank you.
Liz?
Nothing to add, thank you.
I just want to wish everybody happy February vacation. For those who are off this week, hopefully people are enjoying their vacation. And as I said, we're going to have two meetings next week, one on the 24th and one on the 26th, to finish off our discussion and votes on warrant articles. So a lot to cover next week. So with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
We recognize that taking time to visit, call, or email our town departments to report issues in Hingham doesn't always fit your schedule. Are you looking for an easier way to communicate with the town? Well, now there's an easier way. With the My Hingham mobile app, you can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps of your phone. To get started, simply download the My Hingham app from the Apple App Store or Google Play, or simply scan our QR code to get the access to the app that's best for your phone. Once you've opened the app, select the Submit a Service Request button. From there, you can choose the type of request you want to submit, whether it's a pothole, a fallen tree, or something else. You'll then be prompted to take a photo of the issue and provide a brief description. You can also use the app to track the status of your issue and receive updates. Using My Hingham puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, information about our boards, committees, departments, and services. So why wait? Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease.